Hey losers, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I am here today with some books that feel fall vibey to me. Whether they take place during the fall, not all of them do, I'm sure. Sometimes it's hard to find if it is not in the first couple pages. But looking back on my reading experience, they have that feeling of cooler weather, not winter yet, but like dark nights and the leaves and the kind of wet, earthy feeling of fall. So, start out with one, very obvious. This is Halloween Party by R.L. Stine. I really firmly believe that everyone should read one teen horror book in October. This one I read this year, and it is about a Halloween party. These teenagers, I think it's like 10 of them, get invited to the new, beautiful, popular girls' Halloween party, and they're like, why us? Like, some of us just don't make sense. And it does make sense in the end, don't worry. But there is a motive behind this Halloween party, and you get to find out what it is. It is fun, spooky, short, sweet, easy read, perfect for your fall. Next, also very obvious, this is Halloween Fiend by CV Hunt. I had to retape that twice because I kept saying Halloween Fiend. So this is about this small town named Strange, and on the night before Halloween, I think it is, all the residents have to leave out sort of a sacrifice for this Halloween creature that comes and demands a sacrifice, demands an offering. But our character in here is kind of chafing against that, and what happens when the Halloween Fiend does not get the offerings it desires. That one's also short and sweet and spooky. This one, not short and sweet. This is a honker. This is Last Days by Adam Nevill. This has one of my very favorite tropes in it, where we're talking about following a documentary crew as they're making a documentary. So it has like the you're watching a documentary part where they're doing the interviews, they're exploring places, but also the behind the scenes stuff of them making the documentary. And this crew is following the footsteps of this cult that ended up being a cult where, you know, people died, a death cult, I suppose. And so they're investigating these areas that they've been in, houses that they lived in, and also like, what happened to them? Why did this happen? What is the origin? Like, where did these people come from and how did they end up here? This one is very oogie spooky. Adam Nevill writes really fantastic, frightening imagery. Like, he gets under my skin for sure. It's very scary. One thing I will say, very long. What is this? This is 530 pages. It's long. It's long, and if I'm being honest, it feels long. But I think that it is a rewarding payoff. You enjoy yourself on the way, even if it feels a little bit long, and it definitely has like like I was saying, like the wet earth, decaying leaves. You can smell the leaves outside feel of fall. Next is one that's a little more literary. This is Hag by Kathleen Kaufman, and I don't hear this talked about a lot, but I think it is a really interesting story. This one might be a good place to start if you're just dipping your toes into horror. It does feel more literary, but this deals with generations of a family who are like healer witchy types. I believe that this has like Celtic stuff in it, if I'm remembering correctly. And so it has that like windy sea cliff in the UK feel to it, which reminds me of fall also. So this one, it is not like a super exciting. It is more slow and plodding, but I really enjoyed reading this, and I liked you know, seeing this family. And if I'm remembering correctly, the end is kind of out there in a good way. So This one is a good one to pick up if you are looking for something a little more calming, maybe something to read before bedtime, something that is not going to frighten you, but something that has some spooky elements in it. Next on my list is The Wicked by James Newman. Oh, this is a book I've been talking about since I started my fucking YouTube channel. It's just, it's like reading an 80s horror movie. And it kind of looks like it came from the 80s. It's definitely got like this distressed look on it. It's got this fake price tag. It's so great. This is great for so many reasons. And I can't remember what time of the year this takes place in. And it could be maybe because I'm pretty sure I read it like in a fall month. But it reminds me of like the fall. That's what I feel. That's what I think of when I think of this book, is like long nights, spooky cold weather, maybe some rain, and some ancient evil mixed in, some small town secrets mixed in. This is about a family, the Littles, and they move to this small town. The father, if I'm remembering right, he paints covers for books, which is like such a cool thing. And that's not like a huge part of the book or anything, but that's something that stuck with me because I miss those days where we had that. And I get that people can be creative with computers as well, but just the quality of like movie posters and book covers that came out when people were creating things that way is just incredible. Anyway, this feels like an 80s horror movie. Like I said, there is an ancient evil. There is a demon in this town. The Littles do not know this, obviously, as they move in. And they definitely have like a lot of trauma that they're bringing with them. This is one of those books kind of where it's like, will this move help us like carry on with our lives? Will this fresh start help? And it's like, no, it doesn't, because your trauma doesn't go away just because you physically left where you were, you know what I mean? So there is a lot in this, like, not very long book. And there are some creepy things that happen to the townsfolk in this small town. And I would really recommend it. It just feels like an 80s horror movie. It's so weird and creepy. And it's one that I really need to reread. I'm gonna have to like put up a little shelf for myself, I think, where I stash books that it's like, oh, I should reread that. So then I remember to reread them. Okay, another one that I felt like had really good fall vibes is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This has been out for a while and was so hypey when it came out. And I think it was deserved because I really did enjoy this novel. It's kind of strange. It's kind of Gothic horror. So it immediately, when I think of Gothic horror, I think of like long, dark, cold nights. And so here we are. Not only that, but there is definitely some wet earth feelings here, if you know what I mean. Maybe you do. Maybe you've read this. Maybe you haven't. And you'll find out if you decide to pick this up. But this is about a woman named, I think her name was Noemi. Yes, Noemi. And she goes to visit this manor that's far from her own home, where she is kind of a lady of society, you know, and she's going to this manor, but it's like kind of rural. The family has a sordid past. They are a white family, and she is Latina, and her cousin has married into this family. So that's why she's going to check on her cousin, because her cousin was communicating with her, and now all of a sudden the communication seems less and also strange, and she's very concerned about her cousin, so she goes to find out what's going on, and she gets a little more than she bargained for. This is Gothic horror. I don't know, it feels like cozy dark night to me. Cozy night that starts at 6 p.m. instead of 8:30 p.m. You know what I mean? Last on my list is Hex by Thomas Olde Heuvelt. This book is very interesting. There is a lot to this, and I can't say that like I loved all of it. The ending especially kind of for me, but this definitely has like fall vibes. I don't remember if it took place in the fall, but this takes place in another like small town, very insular. People have to be debriefed upon moving here. You know what I mean? Like, there is some shit going on. And that is that this town has this hundreds of years old witch walking around, just doing her own shit. She's not really... It's interesting because I say witch, but I don't mean like... And like she's wandering around, but I don't mean like she's a person living her life. She's kind of like an animated corpse, almost. She has her mouth sewn shut, and I believe her eyes sewn shut, and that's for a reason. And so it's like the whole town is set up so that it has constant surveillance of where the witch is and what the witch is doing. You know, the children of this town are like, they can never speak of this. It makes it feel very chafing, I'm sure. And the one of the characters we follow in here is a teenage boy, and he wants nothing to do with this shit, right? But like, sorry, you live here, you got to deal with it. And what happens if the witch's mouth becomes unstitched? Who knows? I mean, you'll find out if you read this. But it has full vibes. It feels like very, it's like they brought this puritanical idea into like modern day, and like, how do they deal with this? Very interesting. The concept, unlike anything I've read before. So it is a fun book. I just don't know if it like hit everything for me, but lots of people really loved it and I didn't hate it. So those are some books I would really recommend for fall reading, whether that's this month in October or next month in November, or if you could time travel last month to September when I probably should have filmed this, there you go. Or to save for your next fall, or whatever the fuck you want, honestly. These just have fall vibes, in my opinion. I'd love to know if there are any books that you think like really embody fall. I mean, there are some on my shelves that like I just haven't read yet, so I can't speak to them for sure. But I'd love to hear if you have any recommendations, or if you've read these and what you thought about them. Make sure to check out my link tree with all my social media, my Pango shop, my affiliations, with all my affiliations. That's all I have for you today, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you later. Goodbye.